Do you ever, or have you ever, thought to yourself, why am I here? What is the purpose of being here? What is my purpose of being here? I have. It was something that was kind of an intrusive thought for the first couple of years on my spiritual path. And it's been a long time since then. But it's kind of evolved into this thought around how am I meant to serve? Because I know that I'm here to help raise the collective consciousness. That's why I came into embodiment. That's why I incarnated here, is to systematically, step by step, raise my own consciousness and to be an example for other beings on earth. And so now I'm at this point where, and I have been at this point, skating around it, looking at it from all different sides, and wondering how I'm meant to serve. And it's been very clear to me for a very long time that one of those ways is to share my experiences here on my YouTube channel, as is evident from the 11 years worth of playlists that you can watch and see how far I've come. And the thread in all of those videos is just me expressing my experience of what I'm going through and how I'm going through it and how I'm looking at and experiencing and perceiving life through my lens that I have on it at the time. And it's looked like a myriad of things throughout my journey. And now I think about, okay, well, I'm going to do that regardless. This is my work. This is my spiritual service. And so with that understanding and having that awareness that as a spiritual person, I understand and accept that everything is an opportunity for me to grow. I feel like I'm having deja vu because this is all I talk about on this channel at this point. All my videos are just saying the same thing. Resolve psychology. And so I'm wondering, I've been curious about ways to make life supporting avenues. Like, what is my spiritual work? Like, what is my passion to share and to have it be a reciprocal thing where there's money coming in and for it. And, the ideas of getting something temporary in this world to sustain myself in the interim. Because I really don't know how I have managed to make it thus far. Like, when I look back at my life financially, I'm just like, how did I do that? I just kind of winged it. And somehow I always had enough, even if it wasn't a lot. And I made the decision back in the early spring to sell my house. I sold my house, got a certain amount of money for it. It was a tiny house, a little shed that was converted into a tiny house. I lived in it for 5 years and I sold it and didn't make much, but it was more money than I had ever had at that point. And it was just such a huge thing. I remember feeling like, God, this is such a big deal. Oh, it was like this epic drama. Such a big deal to have that much money, and what am I going to do with it? And I don't want to squander it. Like, it's like drama, internally. Some separate selves obviously came up around finances and worthiness, but also it was more like, okay, let's now fuel my next chapter with that. Like, I want to invest in some type of mentorship program to help me take my gifts and make it into a way that I can make money off of it, which is kind of ironic because I had been already doing that, just in not so obvious ways. Like, I'd been making crafts and gifts and herbal medicines and, cleaning people's houses. And in that, you're weaving your own light in that whole process. But I really had always felt like for about 6 or 7 years, I kept getting this nudge that maybe I'd go back to school and become a counselor. But I knew that wasn't I knew like the academic path wasn't really for me. I knew it was like this non-traditional route, but I wasn't so clear on it. And then so much ended up happening in my life in those 6 or so years, that I ended up kind of life giving me a PhD in psychology and resolving psychology. And so again, fast forward back to this mentorship that I ended up finding and just put so much expectation on, and just really felt like this was the end all be all, because I had this self that just wanted my reign with quote unquote poverty, or what I perceived as poverty by the standard American standards. I wanted it to be over. I just wanted to freaking throw that self across the universe and never see it again, because I was tired of feeling like I wasn't amounting to anything. Like, I know that's not true, but I was just tired of feeling like I was chasing my tail, and I really wanted to feel, mind you, first of all, at the same time, I'm getting to a lot of like business motivation and social media. My God. Wow. It will really try to show you and steer you in directions that are none of your business, really. I mean, it's just so much distraction, so much pulling on you. I was just really feeling really vulnerable, having that much money. Like, I felt like it was just, I didn't know what to do, and I was feeling just like perplexed. And so I just started to focus outwardly a little bit, and just thinking like, oh, well, if I look the part, then I'll feel more worthy. And it was just kind of, I just went through this phase of like really outwardly focused and playing that out, because I hadn't yet had that opportunity. I don't know if this, like, something that had to play out. I had to like, I wasn't just like throwing money away, but in a way I was just like focusing on more superficial things to try to feel more secure, right? Because it was a very vulnerable feeling to feel that self kind of kick in, and be in such an extreme, oscillating space with it, with like that feeling vulnerable and then trying to compensate with the things of this world, and just realizing wasn't really getting me anywhere. Simultaneously, I had stepped away from my spiritual work, my spiritual practice, because I felt like I needed to experience full on like what this self really was trying to do. And of course, it's a self-sabotaging self, because all selves are self-sabotaging, because they don't give a crap about you as a conscious I am presence being. Like, it doesn't care. It's a black hole. It's only here to serve itself. That's the whole point of the ego. It will make sure that it survives, even if it kills you. And so here I am, having these experiences and going through these these patterns that I'm noticing, but not still being able to see. And so I invest a lot of money into this mentorship program. And I'm just not really clicking with it. And I realized that I'm going to pull out. And there's all these different reasons, right? But I'm talking to people in my spiritual community, and it's a mixed bag, because money is an interesting, touchy subject for so many people, especially I think for spiritual people. But not especially, I think definitely for all people, and definitely for spiritual people, because money and spirituality, historically speaking, has not been a mix. Historically speaking, if you're spiritual, you're dirt ass poor, isolated in the woods somewhere, which is kind of what I was, and so yeah, playing that out. And then I'm at this point now where with the mentorship opportunity, and it's like I want to really go as far as I can to resolve the psychology and undo the decision that I made internally. So then I can neutrally go about it, whether I decide to pull out or continue. Because right now I felt like what really compelled me to buy the program was a mixture of things. It was like obviously the separate selves and feeling insecure about just wanting financial stability and just feeling desperate and wanting to outsource my self to an expert. And I realized I didn't really totally believe in myself, and I wanted to learn from someone who had done it before, who had made a successful online business. And I was really focused on the money. I was, again, focused outward. I was like, if I have this thing, I will now feel whole. And I was aware of this hang up. It wasn't like I couldn't see it, but I just didn't know what to do about it. It's like, it's one thing to see something, but it was another thing like, well, now I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what kind of decision to make. So I'm just going to make a decision, even if it's not, I don't know, I'm just following the flow, or I'm following this desire, because I feel like at the time there was no other choice. And that's kind of a big indicator whenever you're feeling like cornered and you feel like there's no other choice. You're in a self, and there's no blame or shame to be, had if you make decisions from that place. But I think it was a really important formative experience for me, because I really just felt like something in my identity, in my emotional body, mental body, was just convinced that I was just going to die if I spent all the money, or if I didn't have enough money, if I just kept it and hoarded it, or didn't invest it and it didn't make more, that I was just going to be back to where I started and worthless, or not, worthless. But the truth is I've learned so much that, there's still so much to learn from it, probably. I feel like it's mostly resolved. But I can say that I definitely know now that, like, my worth isn't tied up into whatever outer standard I'm meeting, or however many zeros are in my bank account, how many digits are in my bank account, or it feels nice to have enough. And it feels nice to be in flow and trusting and being able to listen and have resolved enough psychology to make the next right decision for me in that moment. or just to make a more informed choice, because I just really felt like I didn't have enough information, and I just felt a lot of pressure to make those decisions. And, one of my mentors, I remember him saying, any decisions I've ever really regretted were the decisions that I made impulsively. And I'm like, yeah, same. So I guess any resolution with this is just expressing my experience with these separate selves, and how I'm resolving them, and what I'm learning from that. And more than, anything, I've underneath probably all of that, I just wanted to finally feel like I was doing something worthwhile, and that I would finally get some recognition or some validation from the outside that what I'm doing is important and it mattered, because I felt like this mentorship would give me that kind of the skills to be able to communicate and create the container and the validation to make it look like I was. But when I really get in touch with that, like, that's not what I'm here for. And my journey now has just been like, I honestly don't even care if I make any money from my spiritual service, because it's my service. Like, I'd rather just have my business be like things that I've learned. Like, I'm still sharing, and it would still be the same thing. Like, my business would still be my service, because I've thought, all the things that I've overcome. That's a huge part of the mentorship, was like going into your mind and really thinking about all the transformation that you've had, and how can you help other people. And I was just like, and I would immediately go overwhelmed and almost have like amnesia, because I'm like, I can't even tell you how much I've overcome. I'm supposed to pick one. And so that's where I was kind of doubting that this was the right program for me, because I was like, no, I'm like, either I do niche down, but that's going to get old really quick. I'm a very dynamic person. So I think, right? That's where I'm at right now. I just assume that. Or it's something that I just bring people along on a journey of being mentored directly by me. And I'm giving them my time and my energy, and we're in a group container, and we're meeting weekly or whatever, but there's no niche. I'm just selling myself. And it was like this full circle experience. It was like, I didn't even need a freaking $8,000 program to do that, because I could just say, hey, you can work with me. But, so I just kind of felt like, I feel like I've resolved, and undone the decision from that level, because I can kind of just detach and just feel more neutral about whether I stay or go from the mentorship program, because ultimately it just leaves me back to myself, which is, if people want to work with me, then I can make that container available. And I guess I just wanted someone to help me walk through those steps of like, what do you, as a spiritual person who's not trying to extort people, because that is so much of marketing and so much of coaching is just outrageous prices. But it's like, how do I charge enough for me to feel like I'm getting my basic needs met, and my energies being honored and respected? Oh, self-worth. Clearly we're hitting a self here. But it also brings value. So it's like, just feels appropriate both ways. Money and spiritual people, man, so funny. So I'm that's where I'm at. So I just wanted to share. Let me know what you think if you want to share your thoughts, and open to hearing. And if you have any feedback or questions, you can always email me, and I will talk to you soon.